Previously, the group picked up a job regarding a lost caravan and prepared to leave town. Since they'd been a bit conspicuous a week or so earlier during the whole violent mob attacking the temple event, Keelan and Tornak headed to the city gate with Yara and Enola, while the others made preparations to head to the temple to make a donation on behalf of the Valenta family. Sean suggested they stop at the Amethyst Alpaca to see if a man she'd met a few days earlier who worked at the temple was there. She was hoping he might be able to give her a better idea of just what they'd be walking into. He was at the bar, and he gave her several suggestions about making the donation, including not to give it to the Illuminator, as he would just spend it on himself. He told her that he suggested making the donation to his commander, Sentinor Brailer, instead of the priest, as she'd put it to proper use for the people. Besides, the Guardians were just as much a part of the temple as the priests. As the conversation continued, he recognized Taria's shield, and it turned out that he'd met her father before. He told her that her father would agree that giving the donation to the Sentinel was the better option, so Taria quickly made her decision on where she stood. Sean thanked him and told him that she'd keep his suggestions in mind. The group then headed back out, making their way towards the temple. As they walked, Sean told them that she thought she could get away with making a donation to the Guardians once, since, as had been pointed out, they were a part of the temple. She'd probably get a slap on the wrist and wouldn't get to pull that stunt more than once, but once was better than nothing. The group made their way to the temple, and they were led inside to meet with the Illuminator. The Sentinel was there as well, as she was in a meeting with him. The Illuminator clearly knew why Sean was there, and she immediately picked up on the fact that he'd already been mentally spending the money in his head. Sean then proceeded to talk circles around him. After he eventually stormed out, the Sentinel promised that she would make sure the money was put to good use. She also told Sean that she'd made a friend of the Guardians and gave her a coin with a sunbeam symbol on it that she could use in the future to call in a favor. The group said their goodbyes and headed out, immediately making their way to the gate to meet with the others. They decided to head towards the ruins they knew about from the map they bought, which was a few days away. After 3 days of smooth travel, the group stopped as it was getting dark to set up camp. Keelan and Oz went scouting near the camp to make sure there weren't any surprises, and they quickly realized the ruins were much, much, much closer than they'd realized. There was some ancient runic writing that they couldn't read, and Oz hurried back to get the others. Once everyone made their way to the ruins, Sean and Taria got a little close and could suddenly read the runic writing despite it being archaic. There also may have been some glowing going on. There were 5 words there: replenish, grow, chosen, test, cache. They told the others what they'd found. Taria reached out to touch the stone, and it suddenly moved aside to reveal a staircase. As it did, the word enter appeared as well. They made their way down the stairs, which led to a room with 4 dials, one along each wall, and a deep pit with water at the bottom of the center. There were 4 numbers visible: 17, 42, 52, 2. Tornak climbed down to poke at the bright green water at the bottom of the pit and take a taste of it, but it seemed normal if stale. Then he climbed back up. The group split up around the room, moving towards each of the dials. They tried moving the dials to the 4 numbers that they'd seen in various combinations, but it didn't work. Meanwhile, Tornak noticed that the moment they started moving the dials, the water in the pit started rising. Keelan quickly climbed down and dove into the water, looking around. He saw another glowing number under the water, directly under where Oz was, and he hurried back up to tell Oz to try using that number. It clearly did something, so that seemed like a good idea. Zaya connected with Keelan's mind as he dove back in. He found the other needed numbers and mentally told them to Zaya, who then told the rest of the group up above so that they could turn the dials to those numbers. Once they turned the last dial, the water stopped, and 2 more doors opened. Another word appeared: pass. The group wasn't sure which way to go or if they should split up or stay together, so Sean flipped a coin. They all decided to go for it and headed northward. They came to a rickety bridge with a door on the other side, and Keelan saw signs of an obvious trap. It was also noticed that the wood of the bridge seemed bleached as if by acid, which may have been a tiny bit suspicious. They pulled out ropes and harnesses to tie themselves to each other and went across the bridge. They'd noticed a button that seemed like it needed pushed, so Zaya used her mage hand to do so. The positive was that the door opened. The negative was that 3 gelatinous cubes dropped from the ceiling, one of them landing on top of several people. Needless to say, chaos ensued. Several people ended up inside one of the cubes at various times, but the important thing is that nobody died, except for said gelatinous cubes. And that is where we left off.